Hi, my name is Brock, and today is October 19th, 2020. Um, I think that what I would like to do, and kind of the purpose of this video, is to try to get myself into a like bi-weekly update of like, this is what I've learned, this is what I've done, this is my next step. I really want to give myself a roadmap and kind of an agenda to complete a project. And I felt like the best way to do that was to go ahead, start videoing myself, put myself out there, start learning a new engine. My first games that I wanted to do are very simple. I love Illustrator. I don't mind making my own assets, especially for like a 2D game. When it comes into 3D stuff, that's when I'm not as skilled. But That's okay. We're gonna start off 2D based, and honestly, I've started on these game projects in the past, so I'm hoping that not only creating video, but hearing people's feedback, knowing that other people know I'm saying I'm working on this, hopefully that will help drive me to actually do it from end to end and to keep on going. I'm not gonna set any like hard deadlines because honestly, I don't know how long it's going to take me to learn a new engine and get in here. Honestly, it's been a really long time since I have done game development. I've been stuck in the web development world for so long. It's not really the same mindset and tools and stuff like that. I am looking forward to kind of doing this as a project that I can continue with, be creative with, and look forward to doing outside of work because especially during COVID times and stuff like that, sometimes we get a little bit sucked into work. I need something to do outside of work. Not that I don't have plenty of stuff to do. That's actually what normally ends up happening is, oh, I'm too busy to actually do this. But I know me. I know that basically I procrastinate on different things to not do other things. So hopefully, giving myself some type of expectation of like, okay, you have to do something. You have to create something to say, hey, this is where I'm at. Hopefully, that will actually make me continue. A long time ago, back back with Unreal Tournament 2003. I used to know the Unreal Engine decently, and made like some levels and stuff like that in um, Unreal Tournament and some mods and stuff like that. I think I'm going to start with Unity. While I like Unreal, Unity has a really nice community out there, and I like the way that it is done on the different mobile devices. And I have previously tried to make my own game. I did it in Java. I got it working on my Android device. I got it to the point where I had a spaceship, I had asteroids, I had some space. You could move the ship around. There was no collision detection. The ship did stop at the edge of the device, and it, like I said, it was loading on my Android device. That's as far as I got. Honestly, I normally am working. I don't normally have to mess around with fun little side projects. But ever since I was a kid, I wanted to make my own universe, create my own stuff. While at my current job, which I do web development, I get to create some cool stuff, and I've really enjoyed creating tools that have helped my colleagues be more productive and things like that. But I still haven't really gone from idea to completion on a game. in Evernote, I have a list of video game design ideas. The first couple are like, the whole one I was describing early on about the rocket ship and being able to get it on my Android device and control it. You did thrusters and dodged asteroids. Not a very inventive original game. However, I think that it really does have a lot of the same like beginning steps of you know understanding a game and 2D aspects of it and um, collision detection and all the really basics. So I feel like it's a good goal of something that I could complete. I could be happy with, even if it's not like me building out a bunch of levels and unlockables. Even if it's just how long can you last type of game. Um, I'll be pretty happy with that and can say, hey, I completed it, and move on to the next one. The one that I've wanted to make for a really long time actually kind of is inspired from Crazy Taxi, because I like the way in Crazy Taxi you swipe and you jump lanes and stuff like that, and how it feels. I kind of want to recreate that feel of navigating lanes and make it where not only are you navigating lanes, you're maybe dodging traffic, maybe you need to slow down, get around traffic, and stuff like that, and maybe even get out of the way of somebody who's going faster than even you are. So I think that that is a game that I'd also like to complete. It's a pretty simple game, so hopefully I can do that. If I can get those two kind of locked down, feel like I'm good with those, then I'll do some of the more the games that I actually really have wanted to do for a long time. I always get this desire to play like some of the more older games, like Majesty, um, and Alpha Centauri, and of course, Age of Empires, um, Sim Tower, those types of games. I absolutely love them. One of the games that I absolutely love the aesthetic of it. It makes me go like, wow, I don't have to have crazy textures and like be an amazing like texture artist, because the game assets work so well, and that's Northgard. I never really was the best modeler. The thing is, these days, like, I see Humble Bundle packs constantly of like assets to make games, and I've looked at a couple of them, been like, maybe I should buy some of these and just have an archive of assets and go ahead and start doing stuff with them. That's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and take some time to dive into Unity a little bit and then actually see if I can't get just something really basic on screen, some controls, and see what we can do by the end of this week. So, the end of this video, I'll say what date it is and kind of give you an update of where I'm at, and post this, and hopefully I keep on having video updates. If not, message me and demand that I do more video updates. So basically, I just want to go into what I've done thus far, which is I've installed Unity Hub, and I've opened it up. I watched a couple of their tutorial videos that came with it. I wasn't quite feeling it, so YouTube comes to the rescue, right? So I found this video from Infintia, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and he creates different stuff. He's created a few different little games, and he's been making videos on YouTube that go into games. He has one that's called Learn Unity, the most basic tutorial I'll ever make. And honestly, I like his dry humor. I actually do like how basic it is because it reminds me of back when I watched the tutorial videos for Unreal Tournament 2003. You know, those guys that I listened to back then before YouTube was like super big with all sorts of videos showing you how to do stuff. You know, they had recorded on DVDs, you know, how to use the tool and different stuff to do. And I really like their process and step. And that's what he's done. And I know that I said that I am going to make, you know, one of those original games I had started making. I'll go ahead and make it in Unity instead. I still want to do that, but I like his tutorial so much. I'm going to go ahead and do his tutorial, which is more of a 3D platformer type of thing. So I will do that first, follow his tutorial all the way through, see where we get, and then go from there. Most of the time with tutorials, I want to be doing them as the person speaking, but honestly, I really enjoyed just listening to him. And I literally like put his video on my TV and kind of just like sat back and watched, you know, which is funny because that's literally what he says to do in the beginning is, you know, grab a Coke or some tea or something and watch. And I did. So I've been watching some other videos in addition to the Unity training videos. I was never a great modeler. I was not very proud of my modeling projects in high school and college, especially the animation side of them. My walking animation basically what turned into very much a skating animation. I think in the past, the reason why I, you know, kind of struggled being a modeler and learning and sticking with doing 3D stuff is I gave myself too high of a standard to start. One of the projects that I really spent a long time on, it was I was building a Xindi ship, so Xindi from Star Trek, and I was building one of their ships and modeling it, and my hard drive failed, and I lost that work. It devastated me to the point where I was like, I'm not modeling again because I had spent so much time on that. I had taken pictures from the show and I had framed them and tried to really get all the different angles. I spent way too long on it for what it was. And the thing is, I, I wasn't good at making textures, so it never probably would have looked that great anyway. You know, I watched Corridor Crew YouTube channel. You know, recently they've really been pushing, hey, have you learned Blender? And the idea of doing more stuff in Blender. When I started, Blender was looked down on, basically. When I started, it was you use Blender if you can't afford to have the industry standard Maya or 3ds Max. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't afford it. I had student versions, and it's one of the reasons why I'm going with Unity is it's something that I know that I can get in and start to use, and I don't have to worry about paying anybody until I'm successful. So I've spent the last several days getting a haircut, and also absorbing video content and really getting to know Unity. Basically, I have watched about 12 hours of content that dealt with either Unity or the game development field, asset creation, whether it be 3D objects, 2D objects, or even sound effects. I'm going to put a couple of links of the ones that I found were most useful to me during this process. Let me go ahead and show you what I started this morning. So I started at 7 and then I stopped about 10:30. So here we see Unity, and I have my scene up here. Um,
I have my perspective of that scene. I have my different assets. I've tried to keep everything pretty organized. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and run the game to show you where I'm at, and then I'll talk about some of the different things I've learned about Unity thus far. So going ahead and running my game, uh, you can see that it's a very simple game. I took the advice to make a game that is made out of basic objects. So our character is only a cylinder. Our level is just made out of literally basically two squares that have been repeated and have different colors and whatnot. You can see you can walk through the grass, but you can't walk through the ground. You can jump, but you can't jump in the air. Obviously, left and right go left and right, and you can jump and you can make it across, and you can even like do a little maneuver up in the air, move yourself a little bit up in the air, like a lot of platformers allow you to do. Um, so this all had to do with scripting and whatnot. I even had a happy little mistake of like where I was determining where the feet were and making sure like, hey, you should only be able to jump when you're grounded. I actually put the that trigger a little bit below the cylinder. Basically, what that means is if I jump, I'll give you a good example here. I can actually keep moving to the right. Whoop, you see that? Let me try it again. Whoop. So it's like something that I didn't initially intend, but honestly, after I saw it, I was like, I kind of like that. I don't know what type of character I want yet on this. But the cylinder has a round base, right? And if this was like a BB-8 type character, that would totally make sense. Now, I'm excited to try out some other stuff, maybe potentially doing that with like actually moving feet and saying like making sure that, hey, it still counts as you, touching the ground when that foot is hitting the ground or something like that. Also, I can potentially see doing something where like you're able to grab onto the edge, you know, with the character's hands or something, if you were to hit it like that or something. So instead of like sliding down like that, that you'd be able to grab onto the side. I don't know that that's what I'm going to do. Honestly, the whole thing with this is me just learning Unity. This isn't what I initially intended. While I do have like a platformer game on my list of games that I'd like to make, it definitely was something that I had later down the road. Um, so it's something that I would like to definitely learn more about and really see how far I can take it. And again, I'm taking that process of taking the basic elements of the engine and scripting it so it can do things and then swapping out assets. So, in here, I have been able to learn how to navigate, of course. I can change my perspective if I want. Maybe, there we go. Change my perspective. You can see that it is definitely a 3D game, but I'm keeping it like uh, still on a 2D like format. So if I were to go here, you can see they're all aligned up. But it allows me to have the same mechanics as that traditional, you know, 2D platformer. Um, which a lot of my first game ideas are, two-dimensional ideas. However, when it comes to the art, I haven't really decided what I like to do, vector art, which I'm used to making and I'm comfortable making, or what I like to do more of this kind of like low poly 3D art. I don't know. I'm gonna have to experiment with that. And I've definitely like that's why I started watching a couple videos about Blender and things like that. Um, but that will be something that I do a little bit later. I'm not at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start replacing assets. I want to get this down. I want to create a user interface I want to have coins that you collect and then the user interface update. Um, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. Jumping into the scripting part of things, this is very similar to what I do at work already. Um, so basically, it's just changing it from it having data that I use for websites. It's instead data that I'm using for um, you know the game and just learning that. But overall, like I feel like pretty comfortable in here of like understanding how things work and how things are connected to the engine and taking input in and then doing something with it. Um, so I'm pretty happy with that. Um, and this is what I have thus far. It doesn't seem like a lot when I like stop and look at it, but it did take quite a few hours to kind of get to this point. Um, but I'm pretty happy. Again, it's kind of made me have a change on my thought process for when it comes to assets. I before really was like, back when I did do Blender, well, not really in Blender, I did 3ds Max in college and Maya and whatnot. And, I never was the greatest at it. Um, so I kind of have felt kind of stuck doing a one-man show type of thing for game design because of the fact of feeling like, I can't make anything that looks good enough. But in all honesty, the whole low poly fill, um, it works. It looks nice. Um, these are literally, just two boxes, yet you get the idea that this is ground, that's grass. So it's definitely something that I'm definitely considering doing forward is experimenting with low poly versus vector images and whatnot and see what happens. So, like I said, next step will be to create a user interface that you see. One thing I also want to mention is the fact that the concept of having like that camera, right? Your camera follow the character and stuff like that was actually pretty simple to do in Unity, and I'm really happy with how Unity works. Um, it definitely seems way easier than when I tried to do game design a long time ago, to be honest with you. So that's pretty cool. And again, like I said, one of the things that I really like is the fact that I already know C sharp to a certain level for web. So it's something that's easily translating to me. I'm like getting it. I'm like, okay, um, it's not too foreign of a concept, but yeah, I'm excited to see what happens forward from here.
Before I go ahead and get into the actual user interface part, I wanted to kind of put a challenge in for myself to do something without really looking at tutorials. Now, I've been watching a lot of tutorials, learning about a lot of different things in Unity, and I basically wanted to take some of that, information and see can I actually apply it? Am I actually understanding things? I'm pretty happy with what the outcome of that um, is to myself. So what I actually did feature wise was one of the problems with testing is when you fall off, you just keep falling, and you actually have to stop the game and restart the game in order to restart at the start point. So basically, a kill state that respawns you is the idea. Now, I thought, okay, with this feature, what are all the different ways I could do it? I came up with lots of different options. I'm not going to get into them. I'm not creating any tutorials myself, at least not at this stage. This is just a, hey, this is what I learned this week type of thing. And so I came up with a few different ideas. right now I'm trying to take baby steps. And I thought of like a really complicated, not complicated, but probably the most, ideal way to do it, which is to basically create these invisible triggers that cause that kill event to happen. And in the future, that would allow me to apply those same triggers to different objects, even characters, stuff like that, and just say, hey, if you hit this, you're dead, right? However, uh, I don't want to create a trigger system right now. I just wanted to simply create a new feature just really simply. And I'm pretty happy with that outcome. Let me show you. Now, one of the other cool things that I found out was that um, I could make it so that when I'm switching between my scene and my game, which I can change the like aspect ratio. So, when you're triggering between these two, it's like kind of sometimes don't realize you're in game mode versus scene mode. And so I have it now where when you click play, it actually expands. So now when I click play, oh man, it expands. I know I'm in game mode, which is cool. So, moving along, and what I actually did was, oop, that's not a glitch. You're respawning because you died. So again, if I fall off, doesn't matter where I fall off. If I fall off, once I get below a certain area, um, it respawns me back to that starting point. It's pretty simple. Um, I literally wrote just these few lines where I'm literally in, every frame, I'm checking the position. Interestingly enough, I'm checking this position that we use to make sure that like we don't jump when we're in the air. I'm using that same spot to trigger of saying, hey, when that spot gets below this area, um, go ahead and respawn. Now, I'm not using it to set like a triggering box or anything. I'm literally keeping track of the actual position of it up and down. Now, this has a huge limitation. That means my level design, um, it literally, I couldn't have any of the level below. So like I couldn't have it down here because every time you try to jump, you would respawn. Let me demonstrate that. So we can't ever get down to that block. That's what I'm showing here. So it's not like extremely flexible solution, because I'm basically saying there's basically always an invisible area, and it has nothing to do with the level itself. So not ideal. But that being said, um, the thing is, it's a great starting point, and I wrote that myself with my own understanding without having to look up a tutorial to do it. And it's not to say that looking up tutorials is bad. It's just one of those things of it's the difference between uh, imitation and creation, right? So I'm not just imitating what others are doing. I'm creating stuff on my own. And even if somebody else wrote those exact same lines and they're out there on Stack Overflow or some hub like Community Hub or something like that, it doesn't matter because I use my own brain power to be able to come up with that solution. And I've come up with other solutions, which I will probably do in the future. However, what I want to do with this feature is I want to go ahead and expand it just a little bit. And I want to go ahead and create a UI that counts up. every time you die, it will tick up the counter. That is my next baby step. Again, baby steps with this like game creation. And again, I'm not trying to make a game right now. Like I have no concerns about what the end goal is with this, capsule character. Like, do I do I have a plan for him or anything? No, I literally am just like, what's a feature that I would have in a game? Let me go ahead and add that feature to this. So that way, I literally am, learning the uh, tools that I would need to create the game that I want to make. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at right now, and I'm ready to keep on pushing forward. Now to showcase that baby step user interface section. So this was me just putting some text on the screen, having that text stay in the right position depending on the aspect ratio, and also updating when something happens in the game. So let's take a look at what I did here. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in the game. So here we see the user interface appearing on the screen. It just says 0 deaths. And we're going to go ahead and test out some of the different aspect ratios. So if we go to the less standard 16:10, we can see a little bit more of the world, and that's slightly changed. 3:2, 4:3, 5:4. You know, I don't know what screens really play this anymore. But anyway, the point is, all these different aspect ratios, it does pretty good. It flexes. That's changing font size, basically to keep it in the same spot as best as it can. So let's go ahead and go back to 16:9 and actually see it update. So that was the next thing, was seeing it update with an event in the game. So that feature I just added of respawning, well, not only do you respawn, I went ahead and broke that out into not its own script, just its own method or function. And so now I can kind of tweak it a little bit more. So now you fell once, it says 1 death. If you fall again, then we start counting. Deaths 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth, right? Just keeps on updating, but it's keeping count of that, which this is great because this is something that I can utilize in other ways. For example, like picking up items, like a coin or something like that. That's pretty common, especially, with this Mario type platformer game. I could definitely do that and start picking them up. I could go ahead and do a few different things. I'm not entirely sure what exactly I'm going to do just next. I might switch gears and see about adding in some of the more details, maybe in the background, maybe going ahead and having something like some clouds moving across the screen or something like that. I'm not entirely sure yet what I want to do next, but I think this is a good spot for me to kind of pause, compile the video for this week, and go ahead and put it out there. And then in 2 weeks from now, I'll go ahead and give everybody another update. But I'm pretty happy with where I am I went from not having a clue how to do anything in Unity at the beginning of the week to now at the end of the week where I am literally have a character, though he looks like a pill bottle, or I mean not a pill bottle, but a pill. um, but he moves, he jumps, he has physics applied to him, or she, whatever the genderless pill is. In any case, I've made an environment in the game, even though it's a very simple um, environment of ground and grass. I have a respawn event, and I have an interactive user interface. Now, I think that this is like a really good start from not knowing what I'm doing to this point. So I'm pretty happy, and hopefully you guys want to keep on following me along my journey of making something. Uh, I don't know if this necessarily will turn into a game itself. This isn't what I intended, but as I'm doing things, I'm just really, in trying to be here in this, not think so much about creativity and like what I want the world to be, and then like things like that, and just trying to look at it from a higher level of just okay, how does that work? Okay, and not trying to get so consumed with little details. Again, I just want to thank all of you that have watched this, and I want you to know that I really appreciate you taking the time to come along with me in the journey, and to show your support by watching what I've done, even if you don't understand what I'm doing. Again, I'm trying to not make a tutorial and get into the weeds, and kind of just be like, hey, this is something cool and fun that I'm doing. And hopefully that kind of update of look what I've done is something that you guys enjoy, and helps me to continue to pursue this goal. And for any of you who are, I know it's mainly just friends and family, but for any of you that are actively making games, especially in Unity on your own, or playing around with Blender or different 3D type of programs like that, please reach out and give me any pointers on anything that you think I could really learn from, or maybe stuff that you've seen me make a mistake and are like, ooh, shouldn't have done that. I'm more than willing to listen and give it a try. So that being said, just stay safe, and I hope you all have a good day.